This is the new Sea Life SportDiver underwater housing for iPhones. I'm going to show you the unboxing, contents, and then we'll go through a setup procedure. First, you'll notice we have a carry case here. Form fit to fit the SportDiver housing and all of the accessories. This little flap here does protect the screen from any scratches that may come from the accessories. So let's show you the contents of what we've got. Okay, so we've emptied all the contents, put the case aside. This is the underwater housing. This is a vacuum pressure pump. The underwater color correction filter is already pre-attached to the housing. Set of two AAA batteries, moisture muncher desiccant capsule, one sample, Sea Life silicone lube, O-ring removal tool, the lanyard with clip for your BCD, a spare set of O-rings, and also the rubber grip tabs. We'll put some of the items away that we don't need right now. We'll talk about that later. So the O-rings, removal tool and lube, and also the rubber grip tabs. So first thing I want to talk about is the setting up with the phone. Right here I have an iPhone 11 Pro. Also have the iPhone 8 Plus. This is a dual lens and triple lens. Now the housing is designed to work with the iPhone 7 all the way up to the 11 Pro Max. The phone does need to be operating on iOS 13 and 14, 14 being the current iOS, and 13 is the previous one. So the app that we have will support the current and previous iOS version. So let's open this up. What we have on the side is a cam lock. There's a release button right here that you would push and rotate counterclockwise, and that will open up the door. Now you'll notice, first thing is that there are two springs, or there's one bowstring on top, two holding methods. One is the bowspring keeps the phone securely held against these rubber grip tabs. Now the rubber grip tabs, there are different sizes depending on the phone that you have. You can see the 8 Plus is larger than the 11 Pro. Of course, if you have an iPhone 7, that's even smaller. So the three different types of grip tabs that you have are small, medium, and large. Installed out of the box there's 12 each of these. So position for 12 around the perimeter of the housing. 10 of the medium size are installed, and that will fit most of the regular sized iPhones. You will notice that there are two that are missing, and that's because these grip tabs can be pulled out and exchanged, moved around, because we don't want to touch the button on the side of the iPhone. So this one is perfectly set up for the 11 Pro, and the way that we would install this is you will hold the phone up against the spring, push up, and then just release. And you will see that it will rest up against these grip tabs. The grip tabs do have an angle. And then you could slide the phone over. So that's a simple way to insert it and release it. And then to take it out, you see I pull up on the bowspring, lift out the iPhone. So let's set up the housing first. Right here, this is the Bluetooth controller that operates, wirelessly connects with the phone and operates the controls for the camera app, taking pictures and videos and so on. So we want to pull up on this release lever. This is the battery cover. Remove the battery cover, and we will install two AAA batteries that are included. These are alkaline batteries, and they'll last for approximately 50 hours of operation time. So this Bluetooth controller is a low energy controller. It's a very long battery life. All right, so the two batteries installed, just making sure to pay attention to the battery polarity. So positive up on this side and positive down on this side. And then we have the cover, just slides in on the bottom, and then locks in place. What we also want to install is the Moisture Muncher Desiccant capsule. That is the cavity right here with a little spring on the side to keep it in place. So here is the capsule. It's blue when you open it up. That means it's active and it's ready to absorb humidity that may be trapped in here. That's important because this will prevent fogging inside when it's used underwater. So we'll insert that Moisture Muncher. And the power switch is right here. This is currently in the off position. Turn that on. And then we'll have two status LEDs. Before we get to that, I want to show you how we're going to set up the phone and to download the app. First, I want to show you how to set up the phone and, of course, to download the SportDiver app. So again, on the 11 Pro, we'll go to the App Store, you search for SportDiver, and you will see the SportDiver app looks just like this. So you could download that onto the phone, and the icon will look like this. All right, so I have the app installed. Next thing what we'll do is, in the settings, we want to make some general setting changes so that the iPhone does not have any notifications that pop up while the phone is inside the housing or underwater. So the first thing that we will do is turn the airplane mode on. Right, so that leaves the Bluetooth on. We're going to turn the Wi-Fi off. Okay, so that saves a lot of battery power right now because no need for Wi-Fi when underwater. We will go to Do Not Disturb, which is right here, and we will enable Do Not Disturb. Okay, so you see that's turned on. We'll also go to the brightness, display and brightness settings, and here there are two settings. One is called True Tone, and we will turn True Tone off. It's currently off. Default, the iPhone will have it on. Now, turning it off actually does make the display a little bit brighter and easier to view underwater. The other thing we'll do is the auto lock. We'll have that set to never. All right, so those are the important settings we'll want to have set up before we install the phone inside the housing. So we'll open up the app. You see it will orient itself into landscape mode, and we will power on the housing. Now install the phone, pushing up on the bowstring until the phone locks into the grip tabs, and then slide it over like this. Now the Bluetooth will connect automatically to the closest phone. So in this case, this will be the closest phone to the housing. It would take about 60 seconds for it to connect, sometimes faster. And when it does connect, you will see that this blue flashing light will turn solid blue, and that the icon will turn from white to blue, which it just did. So it is now wirelessly connected. The housing has two battery icons. The one on top is the phone power. You can see we're at full power. And the one underneath is for the housing. So you see that's also at full power. So right now this is set up, ready to go for sealing the housing. I do want to go through the O-rings, which is very important. This is the main seal right here. It goes all the way around the perimeter. Around here, and this seal does need to be lubed. So we include a tube of silicone lube. And the way to lube this is you just apply a small dab onto your fingertip like this, and you can wipe that around the housing like this. It's just a very thin film, a sheen that you want. You will go all the way around. So work that lube in. The O-ring is pre-lubed, but you want to check that to make sure, of course, there's no damage to the O-ring. Do a visual check, that there's no hair or sand or anything trapped, clean it, and then apply a thin film of lube. So that is lubed up, and we'll go ahead and seal the housing. You see the cam lock in the up position. It engages, and then we'll rotate to the right until it clicks. The release lock is now clicked in place. Now the housing does feature dual leak alarms. One is a vacuum pressure leak analysis. And this is the vacuum check port. So we'll go through that process here. We'll go ahead and unscrew this waterproof cap. And inside the cap, you will see is a one-way valve. This allows us to use the vacuum pump, the hand pump, to remove some air inside the housing, and that as we remove it, the air doesn't go back inside. So this is a one-way pump. You'll notice that after the housing has wirelessly connected to the phone, that a pressure gauge will appear, and it has a needle that indicates the pressure reading. So right now it is in the high pressure. That's actually the ambient air pressure around me. And as I remove air, the pressure will decrease until the needle gets to good. The way to do that is you take this hand pump, you apply it, a little pressure down into the vacuum check port, and you will pump about 3 times. You'll see the needle move until it reaches good. So here we'll pump once, see the needle moved, pump again, and right there. So the needle is perfectly in the good area, the green area, and the pressure gauge goes away. You'll notice this green blinking light now and a display that says there is a 3.5 minute leak analysis. So what the housing is doing, it is monitoring the pressure, the vacuum pressure inside of the housing. And that pressure should remain constant. If there is a leak, well, it's going to activate the alarm. The leak analysis will fail. So let this do its work for about 3.5 minutes. Well, for 3.5 minutes, I will put the vacuum check port back on. Before I do that, just as I lube the main O-ring, we also want to apply a little bit of the silicone lube, a very thin film, around this vacuum check port O-ring. So it should be shiny. Check for any hair, dirt, make sure that O-ring is not damaged. So we'll go ahead and put that all the way on until it bottoms out. Okay, it's about 30 seconds left. I do want to point out that before loading the phone, of course, and this may be obvious, but we want to make sure also that the lens for the iPhone and on the inside of the glass port is clean, right? And that the phone is fully charged. So as this counts down, you can see so far the seal is good, as it should be. And when the leak analysis is complete, this message box will disappear. A new one pops up. It says waterproof seal is good. So that's it. The leak analysis is complete. We know, we have the confidence that it has an airtight waterproof seal, and we're ready to dive. So let's talk about some of the controls. Right here is a shutter lever. So this will take a picture, start, stop the video. On the back, we have 4 control buttons. The mode button, every time you push this, it will cycle through the modes that you see displayed on the left-hand side. So we have first it will be in photo mode for taking pictures. Push the button, you see the blue line underneath would move over to the video mode. And then again, you could start a video by pushing the shutter button, shutter lever, and then push it again to stop the video. And then push it again, we'll go into camera settings. A little bit about that coming up soon. Push it one more time, and we have the playback mode. Playback mode will show you the last picture taken in a large view here, and thumbnails along the right side, with the most recent picture taken displayed. So you could use the up-down key to scroll through those pictures. And the last button here, well, let's go through these again. I want to go back to camera mode. We're in camera mode. So in camera mode, when you use the up and down, push the up and down buttons, that will activate the zoom. So you see the zoom icon underneath the shutter icon. So zooming in, push up, zoom out, push down. The amount of zoom is also displayed. The OK button is used when you're only when you have manual focus initiated, and again, we'll get into that a little bit later. So right now the camera is set up, it's ready for taking pictures, and again, you can cycle through these modes when underwater to switch between photo mode and video mode. One more thing, of course, is the lanyard. We want to attach that right here as a lanyard connection point. Now, this lanyard has a slide lock for adjusting around your wrist. The clip is not used here. This is for your BCD D-ring. Okay, so to attach the lanyard, we want to take an end of it, loop it through the lanyard connection point, and make a loop like this and bring the lanyard around. So that is the way to attach the lanyard. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to put the lanyard away. All right, so you'll notice that there is a power save feature that the SportDiver has. The screen is dimmed, and that screen brightness dimming will save the battery power. So there is a setting inside, you can disable that. The default is 3 minutes. You can also set it to 1 minute or 5 minutes. So to wake it up to the normal brightness, you can push any button. So push the OK button. So let's talk about some of the setup features and how to operate this while underwater. First thing is we want to talk about the filter and the methods to get the best brightness and results. So we do make the Sea Life Sea Dragon 2500 photo video light. This is a great light, compatible with the SportDiver. You'll see that there is a triple quarter 20 tripod mount on the bottom, or accessory mount. So that will connect to the Flex Connect tray. This is also a quarter 20 screw, and it simply is attached to any one of these here. The reason why you have different options is for different kinds of trays, so that you can adjust where you want to position the SportDiver housing. So this will give you the best results for colors, for brightness, sharpness. It would help the iPhone to focus. So the Sea Dragon photo video light is a really highly recommended accessory. When not using a light, we have a color correction filter here. This is removable, right? So we'll leave it on throughout the dive. In this case where I'm not using the photo video light. And if it is removed, you could see it is attached with a lanyard here onto the side so that you don't lose it. All right, so a recap. Right now we are in photo mode. To take a picture, we push the shutter lever. If we want to take a video, we'll push the mode button. Now it's in video mode. We'll push the shutter lever again to start, and you'll see that on top is an elapsed timer with a red video icon indicating that you are recording. When I push the shutter lever again, it stops, and you'll see that that elapsed timer goes away. Push the mode dial again, we'll get into the settings mode, which we talked about earlier. Let's get into some of these settings. Now, out of the box, the SportDiver app has automatic settings. You don't need to do anything. It will take great pictures, shoot great video, just like that, without having to fiddle with these settings. But from the top down, you'll see there is a main settings menu, and then there is a sub menu. So currently in the main settings menu, we have EV, that's exposure value. And as I push down on the down button here, I can scroll through all the different settings. I'll get into those in a moment. I'll go back up to EV. So EV exposure value will make a brighter or a higher plus value will make the image brighter. A minus value will make the image darker. So sometimes there are certain lighting conditions where you would like the exposure to be a little bit darker or lighter. So this gives you control over the exposure value. Out of the box, it will be set to 0. If I want to change it, I'll push the OK button. So EV is highlit, push the OK button, and now it switches over to the sub menu. So when I push the up and down key, I can adjust that value. And let's say we want to make it a little bit brighter. I will select plus 0.7 EV. And then I push the OK button again to exit the sub menu. So that has now saved that 0.7 plus EV setting, and it will continue using that even if you close the app and launch the app again. That setting will be saved. All right, the next one is focus. So automatic focus, autofocus is the default. You have the option to go to manual focus. So again, OK button to enter the sub menu, and then down to select manual, OK button to exit the sub menu. So let's go talk about manual focus. I will get back into photo mode. Before I said that the up-down key is for zooming. So right now, yes, I push up, I zoom in. I push down, I zoom back out. If I push the OK button, I will toggle between zoom function, you can see the zoom icon, and manual focus. So here, MF, manual focus. In manual focus now, the up and down key will allow you to manually adjust the focus. And you will see on the nice large display that the subject you are shooting is in focus. Now, when is that useful? When you're trying to take a picture of a very small creature that the phone is having a tough time focusing on. It's focusing on the background. So that gives you control of the focus. So let's go back into the settings, and I will exit manual focus. So I'll push the OK button to get into the sub menu, the up button for auto, and OK button to exit the sub menu. All right, next up is WB. That's white balance. So the white balance is set to auto, and the iPhone does a great job at fine-tuning the white balance. What that is the phone is trying to make the necessary color adjustments based on the ambient lighting and to make the objects appear their natural color. So white should look white, right? And the iPhone in auto does a very good job at that. Not underwater. Underwater there's a lot of blue, there's a lot of green because the reds and yellows are removed. Again, the Sea Dragon light, photo video light would be the best option for that, and when you are using the Sea Dragon light, you want to have this in auto. So the values here are in Kelvin color temperature. So if I enter the sub menu and then scroll down, I can select from 3000K all the way to 8000K. Now this gives you manual control. This is more of an advanced photographer's control, that if you have a light meter, you know your ambient color temperature, you can adjust that white balance setting to your light meter's white balance color temperature. So for now, we are keeping this on auto, and we will return and exit the sub menu. Next item up, well, underneath is another color adjustment called Tint. Tint is also like white balance, allows you to fine tune white balance. Let's say I select 5000 Kelvin, and now Tint, I can further make fine tune adjustments to that 5000 Kelvin color temperature. Tint right now is grayed out. The only time when you can adjust tint is when white balance is set to one of these manual color temperatures. All right, so let's scroll down to lens. Now this is the iPhone 11 Pro. It has 3 lenses, so we have the option to select a lens and to use that lens exclusively. So let's get into the sub menu, and we'll see all of the options. The default is normal. Dual is a combination blend of normal and telephoto. One more down, we go to telephoto. And telephoto, of course, gives some magnification. It's using a lens that would be best suited for, let's say, objects that are a little bit farther away to zoom in on that, to magnify on that. The next setting is triple. Triple is utilizing all three lenses, so the phone will select what it feels would be the best lens selection based on that subject you are shooting. One more down is ultra wide. Ultra wide is a wide angle lens that the iPhone 11 Pro has. And one more down will be dual wide. So these dual lens settings, and not the triple, the dual ones are important because you'll see later on I will talk about background blur, which is a feature that will only work when you have it set to dual lens. So experiment with these different lenses when underwater, and you will see that one of the lenses will be best suited for the subject that you're shooting. All right, so we're back to the normal lens, and we'll go ahead and exit that. The next one down is RAW plus JPEG. So normally the iPhone will shoot just a JPEG image. The RAW plus JPEG means that it will also capture the raw data image. That is the raw, unprocessed image that is recorded by the image sensor of the iPhone. And that is in a DNG format. It can be further edited using Adobe Photoshop or Lightroom. That's another advanced photographer's tool. It gives you some great latitude in terms of how you edit your photos. All right, so one more down. We'll go to a mode called Photo plus 3-second video. So like RAW plus JPEG, Photo plus 3-second video means every time you push the shutter lever in photo mode, you will not only capture the still image, but you will also capture a 3-second video clip. 1.5 seconds before you took the picture and 1.5 seconds after. So that's a pretty cool little setting that gives you a short video clip of the subject you're shooting. One more down, we'll have background blur. Now this is disabled because I'm in the normal lens. Like I said, you need to have the dual lens enabled. Background blur allows you to adjust the degree of out of focus, how the background is out of focus while the foreground, the subject, is in focus. This is exactly working like the portrait mode in your native iPhone camera app. So that's pretty cool. You should experiment with that. Adjusting the background blur, we'll get into some of that on our website, showing exactly how you go about doing that. So one more down, we'll go to power save mode. Power save mode will dim the screen after a certain period of time of inactivity. So you'll see that we have, currently the default is 3 minutes. And to enter that, push the OK button to go to the submenu. You could adjust it to off, that means it will never dim. 1 minute, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes. Let's keep it at 3 minutes. Exit the submenu. Display brightness. This allows you, just like the normal display brightness in your iPhone settings, further brighten or darken the display. Of course, darkening it will save battery power. So if you're doing a night dive, you can use a darker display. In brighter conditions, you may need to boost up the brightness to see the display better. The default setting is 0.8, and it goes all the way down to 0 and up to 1. One more down, we will go to a setting called leak alarm. Now that is, the default is on. If you disable that, that means the vacuum pressure check that we went through in the beginning will be disabled. You will not see the pressure gauge, and it's a way to bypass that. If you feel that you have the confidence in the seal and everything, and it saves you some time. So there is a way that you can disable that leak alarm. However, if you disable it, still very important to give this 3 pumps of pressure. And the reason for that is, even though that it's not doing the leak analysis, what that vacuum seal will do, it will actually strengthen the waterproof seal here. So it's important to, you disable that leak alarm, still apply 3 pumps of pressure. All right, so that is going through the entire menu. We're back up to the top, EV, and we'll exit that. So let's talk about, the next one is Playback. All right, I want to exit that. We'll push the mode button to go to Playback. So again, going down, up, scrolling through those images, you'll see a little video icon that will be on top of the thumbnail indicating that it is a video clip. The video will automatically start when it's selected and automatically stop. So you don't have to start and stop the videos as you're scrolling through. To delete a picture, if you wanted to delete something, just push the OK button. A delete this file and question mark will pop up, and then yes or no. So let's delete this picture. I said yes, push OK. That picture is deleted. All right, so that's the playback. By the way, all these pictures that you see displayed in the app are also saved to the iPhone's native photo app, so that it's in a folder called SportDiver. So from there, you're able to do more editing from the various editing apps that you have installed on your iPhone, of course, including iPhone's own native photo editing app. And they're very powerful editing apps that you can have. So the image that's saved in the app is mirrored, is also saved in the native photo gallery. We're back in photo mode. One thing I'd just like to cover again is the leak alarm that's integrated into the SportDiver housing. So you'll see that the green light is still on. Now there is a wet sensor located on the inside bottom of the housing, and let's show you that here. You can see this is an open housing. There's a gold-plated contact wet sensor on the bottom of the housing, right here. If water touches this, it will activate the alarm. When the alarm, if the alarm is activated, a message will appear that says leak detected, and this green light will turn to a red flashing light. Now, if that happens, you want to dive safety is first. You want to make sure that you ascend in a very safe manner. But of course, this is a good indication that something isn't right, and you should abort the dive in a very safe manner. So after the dive, the sealed housing should be placed into a rinse tank. We want to get rid of any of the salt water that's been trapped underneath the buttons in the cam lock. So we'll put this into a freshwater rinse tank. Most dive operators will have this specifically for cameras. And we'll have it soak for 20 minutes. And when it's soaking underwater, we'll make sure that we push each of these buttons about 20 times to rinse out, flush out anything that's trapped under the buttons. After that rinse, we'll towel dry the housing. You want to make sure that before we open this, that the housing and that you're completely dry. All right, so this is dry. We'll go ahead and unlock this. Now, right now, I could try with all the power. It's not going to open up. Why? Because there's a vacuum pressure. So in order to open the housing, after the housing is dry, we want to unscrew the vacuum check port. Remember, there's a one-way valve. You'll see right here. And you'll stick your fingertip in there and push that valve sideways. And you'll hear a pressure release. So there, pressure has been released. Now, of course, that does activate the alarm. It sensed a pressure change. So we'll go ahead, press the release button, rotate left, and we could turn that off. All right, so when opening up the housing, So also look for any water that may be around the perimeter here. We don't want that water to drip into the inside. If a water drop does come in, have a towel with you and just dab that up. So the housing is now open and the iPhone can be removed. We'll push up onto the bowspring and we'll lift the phone out of its case. So between dives, you could charge the phone back up. I'm going to replace this check port valve until it's ready to be used again. That will safeguard the O-ring. I'd like to talk about replacing the O-ring. Like I said, there is a spare set that's included, a spare set for the main seal and for the vacuum check port. So we have a tool that's an O-ring removal tool that's used. Don't use any other sharp objects, a screwdriver or anything. And you will put the tool underneath the O-ring like this, and you can see how it lifts out. And that allows you to grab it and pull the O-ring out of its groove. The O-ring is shaped to match the contour of the housing. When you remove it, you can rub your finger along the O-ring. You're visually checking for any damages, any cuts or tears. You're also cleaning it. You can use a lint-free cotton cloth to clean it and then re-lube it. Again, a very thin film of lube is applied. And to install it, you will lay, matching up the corners into the groove. Also, the groove along the perimeter should be cleaned with a cotton-free cloth. Lay that in here and be careful not to twist the O-ring. You don't want that to be twisted, it has to be straight. And we don't want to stretch it, just have to pull it enough to get it over to the edge. And then you'll see the O-ring is in place. You do the same thing with the vacuum check port. So it's a much smaller O-ring, as you'll see. And you can use the O-ring tool to remove this O-ring. And a replacement O-ring is included, and that also cleaned, lubed. The groove is cleaned, the O-ring is cleaned, it's lubed, and then reinstalled. So there you have it. That's the basic operations and care and maintenance for the SportDiver housing. When you're storing the SportDiver, you should remove the batteries for long-term storage. If it's a short-term storage, it's okay. You could leave them in there. It's best to actually have the cam lock in this position for any long-term storage. What that will do is prevent the O-ring from being constantly under stress and pressure and taking on a shape. So we'll just have it open like this. Back with the carry case here, when the housing is completely dry, don't store it when it's moist. That would just create some mold and mildew. So we lift this flap, and you will see it's it will go face down into its cavity. And put the flap over here to protect the screen. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this setup video, and happy diving.